Video is the first of many that talks about acids, bases, and salts. So the first thing we need to know is what is an acid. An acid is simply a substance that donates protons, and protons are simply hydrogen ion that has a positive charge. So for example, I can have the substance HCl, which is hydrochloric acid, because it contains that hydrogen ion. In a reaction, the acid will give off or liberate that H plus ions. So this H plus ion is known as a proton, and simply an acid is a proton donor. A proton donor. Now, what are the properties of an acid? An acid will have a sour taste. It will turn blue litmus paper red, and they will react with metals to produce hydrogen gas. So an example is, let's say, magnesium. All right, so magnesium metal, the symbol will be solid, that's a state. We have our acid, again, it's going to be in the aqueous form. And when that reaction is complete, we will have magnesium chloride, MgCl2. So that acid gave off its hydrogen ions, and this hydrogen ion forms the hydrogen gas. Now, you may wonder, where did this 2 hydrogen came from and this 2 chlorine? Well, we have what is called balancing the equation and balancing the ions. So Mg is +2, and further course we'll discuss that. Cl has a charge of -1. We have to make sure that the positive and negative balances out, so we need 2 Cl so that it matches the 2 positive. On the other hand, hydrogen gas exists as a molecule, so we have H2. On the other side of the equation, we need to make sure that we account for the 2 Cl's and the 2 H's. So that's what we have there. All right. Now, what else do we need to know? We need to know what a base is. Now, the base is the total opposite of an acid. So we can define the base as a substance that accepts hydrogen ions or proton ions. So an example of a base will be sodium hydroxide. All right. So it will accept the hydrogen ions that is given off by your acid. What are some properties of a base? Well, they have a bitter taste. They are slippery or soapy to the touch, and they will turn red litmus paper blue. All right, so it's essentially the opposite to an acid. All right, what else do we need to know? We talked about litmus paper. What is really a litmus paper? Litmus paper is an indicator. Indicator meaning we can use that paper to determine whether a substance is an acid or a base. So that's one common indicator. Another indicator is phenolphthalein. That is a common one that is used. Again, it changes its color when it's in an acid and when it's in a base. Further videos will discuss more about the indicators that we use. As we mentioned, the acid gives off the proton, and the base accepts that proton. So when the two react together, we have what is called a neutralization reaction. So the neutralization reaction, if you think carefully, think of neutralization meaning becoming neutral. What makes a reaction neutral? The formation of water. So the acid reacts with a base, you form water, and a salt, we have a neutralization reaction. So again, we have the sodium, mixing with the chlorine to form NaCl. Again, that sodium takes the place of the hydrogen, and then what is left is H2O. All right, so we have that H here that was liberated, and we have the OH forming the water. That's a neutralization reaction. Now we talk about acids being the opposite to bases, but when we do that in terms of a pH scale, how would we know what's the acid and what's the base? Well, your pH scale runs from 0 all the way up to 14. Okay, in the middle here we have 7. So anything from 0 to 7 will be acidic, and anything from 7 to 14 will be basic. Alright, so acid runs from 0 to 6, or 6.9 if you want to be technical, and the base, they run from 7.1 to 14. Okay, the last thing we want to talk about is what I mentioned earlier, which is that NaCl. This is known as a salt. A salt is formed when there is a neutralization reaction between an acid and a base. The hydrogen ions from the acid combines with the OH ions from the base, and it forms water, as you can see there. And one of the most common salts that we have is, you guess it, sodium chloride, as we have there. This is known as the table salt that we use. All right, so that's it for this video. See you in the next one.